Fulton Lee.
Hello, hello.
What's up, baby?
What up, dude?
Man, what's going on? It's a bright and early Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Couldn't have asked for any better setting. I think the morning is when like you have the most energy and the
For
most,
sure.
Are you caffeinated? Do you caffeine?
I don't. I love the taste of coffee, but it gives me anxiety. Tremendous anxiety.
We got recently turned on to Black Rifle.
Okay.
These are freaking amazing. 200 milligrams of caffeine will wake you right
Oh
up.
my goodness.
Yeah. It's a lot. I think my caffeine tolerance is so high.
Really?
I don't even feel anything. You also, I mean, it's good to see you again. We met at the rooftop show.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of fun with Pet Envy.
Mm-hmm.
You also said that you're allergic to alcohol. I've never heard anyone on earth be allergic to alcohol. I mean, we're gonna be all over the place, timeline-wise. But when did you find out that you were allergic to alcohol? And
Well, I used to drink regularly, but I was always getting sick, just constantly. Had a cold, and like I dealt with like on and off chronic, undiagnosed general illness for a long time. Like it was like a lot of like inflammation and fatigue and like lightheadedness and all these weird symptoms that I couldn't figure out. And so once that started to get bad, I just stopped drinking alcohol because I was like, why would I do more things to my body when it's already like not handling existence very well?
yeah,
So I stopped drinking for like I don't know, like it's been like 6 or 7 years now. And last year I was like, let me just try just the most simple, purest, just straight vodka and club soda. And I had probably like 4 or 5 sips over the course of a night. And within like an hour or two, I had like flu-like symptoms. I had like scratchy throat. I was sneezing. My eyes were watery, and like just felt like I was getting a cold, you
Wow.
know. And those symptoms didn't go away for like 3 or 4 days.
Wow.
And it was all just that. So I mean, I don't actually know if I'm allergic.
Yeah.
It seems that way.
it just gives you COVID. It seems like what it what
Right.
it seems to
Yeah.
do. That's
Exactly.
hilarious. So you're from Virginia. We
Mhm.
we can go back. Saw the Virginia plates on the old GMC there.
Mhm.
So tell me where you're from in Virginia again. Remind me.
It's called Culpeper.
Culpeper. That's right.
It's a small town.
That's just one of the names that it just sounds like a small town name.
Right.
It just kind of sounds
Indeed.
like it. So small town. Grew up. Siblings.
I have one sister who's 8 years older than me.
8 years older. I see. I have a sister that's about the same age older. And the thing about that is I didn't actually get to know my older sister until like until I was like college age.
Really?
Oh yeah. I mean, she was always my sister's like a social butterfly. So in high school I barely saw anything of her, and then college, by the time she was off in college, I was in middle school.
Right.
And I didn't see her for years. I didn't get to know my sister until like after she graduated college.
Right.
So take us through early life in the amazing, exciting Culpeper, Virginia.
Well,
Loving household.
yeah. Yeah, I think so. My parents split when I was 6. Before that, we lived
Okay.
close to Culpeper, but not quite in Culpeper. And then I moved in with my mom, who was in a neighboring town called Bealton, just like 30 minutes from Culpeper. My dad moved into Culpeper. My dad built this house on this big plot of land that he owned, and it's this big log house. It's like an amazing, like beautiful work of art. And right around the time my parents split, or maybe a little before, no, it must have been a couple years before, he was like 70-80% done with the house, and the whole thing burned down. It was like this freak accident with
Oh, no.
a fire.
Started from within the house, or was it like
I think it was
arson?
I think it was like a cigarette.
No way.
Yeah,
Did he
I mean,
did he smoke?
Well,
in
there was
the
just a bunch of
house?
workers. You know,
Oh,
the house
oh,
wasn't finished.
It wasn't finished.
No, it wasn't
Oh,
finished. It was
okay.
like 75%
Burned down before you
finished.
could even live in the damn thing.
Yeah. Anyway, that's just a fun. I mean, not fun, but just a side note.
Yeah, yeah.
So he ended up rebuilding it.
Oh, no way.
Whole thing, rebuilt the whole
So
thing.
was he like living in like a condo or something while he was doing all
so
this?
at that point, my parents were still together.
Okay,
so that
still
we,
together.
We were in our home.
Right.
Anyway, so they split after that. My dad moved into that house in
Okay.
Culpeper.
Because it was already built by the time.
By that time,
okay.
it was already built.
Gotcha.
And yeah, I was with my mom in Bealton. Went to public school. Stayed in pretty much Bealton and Culpeper. I like bounced back and forth between those two towns.
Mhm.
My mom always lived in Bealton. My dad always lived in Culpeper. And yeah, I went to this same, elementary school, middle school, high school as all my friends. Like, I know people. I'm like close friends with people I went to kindergarten with, to this day.
Really?
Because I was with them from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And
wow.
yeah, so really, yeah, it's a great childhood, wholesome.
Yeah.
For sure. My dad, he has like a huge plot of land, and he started a farm when I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So he was always into real estate, but then he just had this passion for getting his hands dirty.
Agriculture and
Well,
farm animals and
So it's livestock. No
livestock,
crops.
no crops. Okay.
Cows, chickens, pigs,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was big time working on the farm through high school.
Nice.
Lots of farm work, lots of killing chickens, cleaning chicken poop, like moving cows from one pasture to another and all that kind of stuff. I did
Wow.
not enjoy it.
Really?
No.
That's a lot of. It's hard work, man.
It's extremely hard work.
It's
yeah.
hard work. Especially 'cause if you got a kid in that environment, he's got like free child labor.
Oh yeah.
It's
For
like-
sure.
That's ideal.
Which that's just not me, man.
Yeah.
I'm
And
not a chicken poop
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of guy.
And did you do well in school?
I did, yeah. I did until like 10th grade. Like I never got a C on my report card until like 10th grade.
Oh,
and then I was like, I started to get really into music.
Mm-hmm.
Really into music.
And this is you said like in high school. This is when you started getting into music.
Yeah,
What'd you say?
my dad plays guitar and sings, and he had a cover band. He played in a classic rock cover band, and then he brought
Nice.
once I started taking to the guitar and like really liked it, which was probably around like 13. He brought me in and I played rhythm guitar and backup vocals in his band.
Cover band. Okay.
Which was cool. And then, so that must have been 8th, 9th grade probably, and then I started my own band, like a cover band in 10th grade. And then at that point I was like, yo, this is my life. This is what I'm going to be. I'm going to be famous. I'm going to be like a rock star. I'm going to do this thing. And so going to like history class or like chemistry class was just like so irrelevant in my mind. I had like such a singular focused goal for my life. I knew I wasn't going to go to college, like traditional college. And so I just couldn't get myself to like
apply yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Just didn't feel useful.
Yeah.
I felt like a wasted time.
Yeah. That was me my whole school career.
Really?
From start to finish.
Okay.
Didn't apply myself once.
Right.
Okay, I take that back. I had a history class. I loved history, and I love
Okay.
nonfiction. And I had a really, really cool teacher. It was the first teacher that swore in class. Like,
Oh.
he said hell and damn.
In high school.
Yes, in high school. Public high school. He'd let, like, every once in a while, he'd let a I don't give a damn kind of slip. And that's it, But we were all like, this is the first time we had heard a teacher swear. And he was such a badass, and he would, like, he'd go to like music festivals and stuff like that. He had like this secret life. He had like this mysterious, Mr. Holm. Yeah, Mr. Holm. Yeah.
Homie.
Yeah. That's awesome. First jobs. I'm assuming that you worked a series of day jobs. I mean, okay, so you're on the farm, right? So going from there, did you have any other day jobs like in high school?
No, not in high school.
Okay. So then take us through, because I believe I heard or read that you moved here to Nashville in 2019.
16.
2016.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see. So going from high school, ranch hand, farm hand, whatever, take us through the next step. So you skip college, you don't do any of that, you want to do music. So what's the next step from the farm?
Well, I actually, in high school, I got really into chorus, like my
Uh-huh.
my chorus class or whatever.
Mhm.
And I was real tight with the choral director, and I got really into choral music and started writing like arrangements of choral music. And I was also writing songs, and I was also like in a band where we played like Green Day and stuff. But um, so my choral director convinced me to apply to music schools and potentially pursue composing and like being a composer. And so I got accepted to the Boston Conservatory of Music, which is right next to Berkeley. And I went there. I did the whole thing. I moved into the dorms and all that stuff, and I started writing. I started existing in the composition program, which was a newer program, had like 6 students in the whole program, which is it's a pretty small school to begin with. But I was like pumped, obviously, just moved out of my hometown for the first time. Definitely the most exciting time of my whole life.
So just up and move to Boston, like a city.
Yeah, and a
living on
city,
your living
right?
on your own.
Living on my own, and I'm in this really cool, like, old 3-story building with like 50 other 18-year-olds. I mean, it was like a dream, you know. But then, I encounter all these all this weirdness in the composition program where the professors all want me to write in this particular style. So in classical music, you have different eras of music. You have like the classical era, the Renaissance era, the Romantic era, the modern era, and now we're in the new music era. And new music is atonal. So that means there's no key center. So there's just no structure harmonically. And there's no structure rhythmically. So it's very avant-garde. It's very abstract. It sounds like if you were to put a cat on a piano keyboard and just let him flop around. That's like, it's like art music.
Yeah, Jacob Collier has basically mastered this form of new music. Right?
I mean, well, Jacob Collier, he puts structure into his weirdness, right? So like, even if he takes like a very strange and unorthodox route to take you somewhere in his music, he is at least taking you somewhere. But with new music, it's literally like if I were to like sing a new music piece, it would sound like and I'm dead serious. I mean, like I watched recitals of violin players doing this like and so like, and it's very heady, it's very academic, right? And I don't know, not to knock it, like people can get into it. I think if I was around it for long enough and I really tried to appreciate it, it is artful, right? And it's so heady, it's so like not musical that I just couldn't do it. I just could not do it. And so they wanted me to write like that. I wanted to write like, romantic and more like modern style choral and orchestral music. And they were like, nah, let's just erase this key signature. Let's turn this quarter note into a whole note and this whole note into a half note and just give it a little more like spark to it. And I was like, excuse me? Sounds like a giant fart.
Yeah. Wow.
So once I really started to see like, they're gonna like really push me to do that, like for sure. Like I'm not gonna be able to write how I want to write. That was like 3 weeks into me being there, and I just looked up, when's the deadline for me to like quit and still get a refund for my tuition? And it was like the next day.
Okay.
And so I had to like make that call on the spot. Wow. And I left. Wow. And so, and you know, so the conservatory was musical theater, and dance.
Mm-hmm.
And those are like the 3 programs within the conservatory. And I was just like around all these musical theater and dance majors. And I was like, yo, there's something in me that needs to perform. Like I love classical music and I love to write, but like I'm a performer and I'm never going to get that as a composer, you know? And so that was another big thing. Because when I went to the conservatory, it was a big decision in my mind of like, okay, I'm either going to pursue the composition thing and like probably turn that into like being an artist, you know, like a pop music artist at some point, but use that knowledge, or I'm just going to pursue being a pop artist right now and move to Nashville. And so it was like the Nashville versus Boston dilemma for like my whole senior year. And then I chose Boston, and then all that happened, and then I left. I went home for like a couple months, and then I moved to Nashville.
Okay. Just to kind of like reset. So Boston, Virginia, and then Nashville, and now we're talking 2016.
Yep, I got here May of 2016.
That's exciting. That's very exciting. Yeah, I kind of had something like that where I went trade school in Nashville, back to my parents' house in Alabama, lived there for a bit, and then back to Nashville. Sometimes you need that little reset. For me, it was just to kind of financially build up like a savings account. And then I built up like this nice savings account when I was with my parents, and then moved to Nashville. And within like 4 months, it was gone.
Oh,
just
man.
Gone. I mean, I moved into a 1-bedroom, so that's first and last month's rent.
Right.
Furnishing.
Exactly.
So within like 1 day, I had spent like $4,000 just on the security deposit, some furniture, you know, just like the basic stuff. So yeah, that was. So anyway, so you are currently married. Tell us where you met Hannah, and when did when did that start? Was that a Nashville?
That was a Nashville thing.
Okay, was it a dating app situation, or was it you met her out in the wild naturally?
I was working at a restaurant. Have you heard of Cheekwood Botanical Gardens?
Yes. Yes, we have. Yes. Oh, the really, really nice. Yes.
It's beautiful,
yes.
Yeah. So they had a restaurant on the campus.
Yeah.
And I was working there. I started working there, and then the very next day she started working there.
Is this your first Nashville job?
No.
Okay.
Sorry. Maybe it was. No, it couldn't have been. I don't remember. Maybe it was. Anyway.
It's not a bad first job to start off here.
Yeah, we were both servers, and we were both the newbies.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of got lumped together with everything.
Yeah. Trained together and whatnot.
Exactly.
Right.
And so, yeah, we just got to know each other really fast. All the different tasks, like if it was like someone needs to roll silverware in the morning, it was me and Hannah because we didn't know how to do anything else, you know. And so we like would talk a lot, and we started dating, and we dated for like 1.5 years, and then we split for 9 months, and then we got back together. And when we got back together, we got married within like 6 months.
Okay.
So
nice. I recently saw on your Instagram story something about commitment and how, like, even in like your early 20s, of how commitment is important, and a lot of people in their early 20s are afraid of, you know, commitment. So we'll get so you've had a child in the past couple years. We'll get to that, but being in the music industry, it doesn't really sound like the whole like married dad life is very conducive to being in the music industry,
right?
Because you know this is very rare to find. You know, like a family man,
right?
You know, it's usually like bachelors, you know, getting wasted and stuff. You know, you seem to be very, you know, composed, not to, for lack of a better term. So what's like the whole married life like while pursuing music?
Man, it's been the most like helpful. And I don't want to like I'm saying this just because we're talking about married life as it relates to my career. Married life is all kinds of different great things in its own right, but as it relates to my career, it's actually been extremely helpful and made me a lot more productive. And
just like stability wise,
structure, man.
Okay.
Structure. When you're sharing your life with somebody, you're just accountable in so many more different ways than you are when you're alone. And yeah, structure and responsibility. You know, you're like, you have someone to answer to, and there's accountability. There are things that have to get done, and if they don't get done, it's more than just you that's affected, right? And so it puts life into perspective. It's like, okay, what's your goal? You know, do you want to do music, or do you want to like F around and maybe do music? You know? And if you do want to do music, then you need to organize your life, organize your time, and actually get things done and like figure this out and make steps and like do things that are actually going to result in income, right? And it just kind of changes your frame of mind and turns it into more like, all right, how can I make this into a profitable business? How can I like make this something sustainable for my future, something I can support my family with, instead of just like, I don't know, before that, it was very much just me doing the things that made me feel gratified and fulfilled as a creative person, which of course is important, but there's so much more to it, you know? And if you're just going by that, you can find yourself in these ruts where you're not creating for a while because you're not inspired. But if you're like, if there's more structure and responsibility in your life as it relates to your music, you don't have a choice but to be inspired, you know? And I've never really dealt with that, like, I'm not inspired, but I got to push through it. It's something about the necessity of having to create and having to produce that just makes inspiration, it just comes, you know? It's just always there.
Yeah.
So
I'm always discipline over motivation. Or inspiration, because I feel like motivation and inspiration are fleeting. They're not permanent. Discipline is permanent. You're doing it whether you like it or not, and you have rid yourself the choice of opting out. You're not opting out.
Right.
So that's how I've always seen it. If in my opinion, if you're getting off on like watching like the motivational videos on YouTube, you know, and you're actually going to those videos in order to seek motivation, I think you need to implement a little bit of discipline in your life. I think
right.
That
was me for sure. Before I got married,
Yeah.
I was like, I would binge motivational stuff.
Yeah.
And
it feels good. And it feels good.
It feels so good. And like
you feel like you can take on the world.
Right. And you don't ever have to do anything.
Yeah.
You can watch motivational videos and not do anything for a year, and it still feels good to watch them. It never stops feeling good.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. That's awesome. So, being a dad, Mary May. She's so cute, so adorable. She looks a lot like her mom.
You think so?
Yeah. So walk us through that. It's one of the most profound experiences a human can have.
Sure.
Is having a child. What's that? You know, I mean, just adjusting to the married life is one thing, but then adjusting to waking up at 3, 4 a.m. to, you know, do all that stuff. Are you exhausted all the time, or are you?
Not anymore.
Okay.
I mean, she's 2 now.
Okay.
So she's on a total routine.
Yeah. Nice. But yeah, what's being a dad like? Enlighten us.
Oh man, it's, you know, as it relates to my career, it's very similar to what I was just talking about, but like times a million, right? There's so much more weight to every decision that you make, and life just has this like, it's like jam-packed with meaning now, right? Because I'm responsible for providing for my child and also being an example for my child and being dependable, following through on my word, right? Taking care of myself, you know, being like fit enough, well-rested enough, like clear enough in my mind, not distracted to take care of her, and like be like be good company to her, right? Like be someone that she wants to like play with and sit and be with, because she's getting the attention that she needs, right? So those kinds of things just like make life way better. You know. And then I mean that's how it relates to how I kind of move through my life, but I mean obviously it's something where, and it's weird, this happens to me all the time, pretty much every day. I will go and I'll do some work, whatever that may be, or maybe I'll go out and do something, or I'll like be writing or like doing some type of work, and I'll do it for a while, and then I will be finished and I will go and see her. And it's like, yeah, I didn't realize how much tension I was carrying in my body, and I see her and it's like it's like just joy. It's like the cliche, but it's like you just feel so damn excited and happy. And I mean, if you can imagine just seeing like your best friend in the world, you know, that just you have such a good time with, and you see them and it's just like, yes, we're homies, like this is about to be so fun. When I see her, it's just like, oh my god, she's just so great. It's like there's no other way to put it. She's just such a joy to be around, and such a joy to like sit and play with and talk to. She's just so pure and happy and sees the best in you, you know, and she loves you. It's like there's nothing like it.
Yeah, there's nothing like a fresh slate. You see a human with a totally clean slate.
Oh,
and
yeah.
There's no negativity, you know, to be seen or heard of. So, any other day jobs other than the place where you and Hannah met?
Yes, I worked there. Then I worked at a different restaurant called Bajo Sexto, which is on the west side. They sold tacos. Then I was a wedding DJ.
Sick.
For a long time.
Sick. How is that? Does that pay well? Is that
no? It would have if I had been an independent DJ, but I worked for a DJ company.
Oh, okay.
And so I was an independent contractor.
But you're 1099 contractor.
Yes.
Woof.
So they
you only get paid if you work, basically.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Basically, I got paid $150 a wedding plus gas, which is nothing.
Yeah, and you're driving your own car.
Driving my own car. I mean, they're paying for my gas.
Yeah.
But
you're putting miles on your own car though.
It's like the client is paying like over $1,000 easy for the service.
Oh yeah.
And I'm getting paid $150. Like, dang. Granted, you know, there's a lot of marketing that goes into the wedding industry.
Yeah.
And so, and I went to some of like the bridal conventions and was like a salesman for our DJ company, and that was fine. But yeah, you know, it's like it's fun for like the first few times, and then it gets pretty.
So you were the one like introducing Mr. and Mrs.
I was the MC. I was like the master of ceremonies, so I would like introduce the first dance.
Yeah.
I would introduce the father-daughter dance. I would like, yeah, it is a lot of pressure. And I would also run music for the ceremony.
Yeah.
So I had to mic the officiant and like make sure his levels were cool. It was stressful.
And
for
is
sure.
So because I have a million questions about this. We're going to spend the rest of this podcast talking about what it's like to be a DJ. Now, are you picking the music, or are they like, hey, put in some Bruno Mars, or is it all you, or is it kind of they're suggesting stuff?
It's interesting. You're not streaming anything. Everything is on hard drives, right? So they give you they basically just give you a huge turntable, and inside of the turntable is just hard drives of like hundreds of songs. And they're all categorized into different playlists, and in addition to that, the bride gets all of the music beforehand, and she gets to pick, okay, these are all the songs that must be played. And so I have my must plays, and then I also have just her general taste. She tells, you know, the client will say, you know, we like country, or we like R&B, or we don't like 80s music. And so I know these things, so I just mix in her must plays with the stuff that I think she might like, and that's it. Nice. And you just jam all night. And then of course, you know, they got the the father-daughter dance has a particular song, so I have that queued up, and but yeah, it definitely not. I did not choose any of the music.
Okay, I gotcha.
It was good music though.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, I mean, I'm sure that there's fun aspects of the job too. Every once in a while. I mean, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure it gets old, but.
Well, dude,
I
I cried at every wedding I went to. I'm like that.
Yeah.
It's very beautiful. Like,
Yeah.
and I honestly I loved the ceremonies.
Yeah.
It's an extremely beautiful thing to watch people get married.
Yeah. A lot of people don't like weddings, or they're like boring and stuff. I don't mind them.
Man,
I love going to weddings.
Love
It
weddings.
gives you an excuse to like dress up and,
Yeah.
call the babysitter and have a good time. Cut loose.
Yeah, man.
Not drinking alcohol. Yeah. Yeah. I'm off alcohol too. It's freaking awesome, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Go ahead, dude.
Yeah. With the help of like antidepressants and stuff like that, which leads
Sure.
us to our next segment, which is you're very open about how much seasonal depression affects you. You've been very vocal about that on your Instagram, and I love all these Instagram videos that you're putting out of you like dancing on a bench or like
Right,
and
yeah.
then all these random spots. It looks like you're having a lot of fun with it. Yeah, go check out Fulton Lee's Instagram. It's a great follow.
Solar powered.
Solar powered. East Room. This is gonna. By the time this comes out,
Yeah.
the show will already happen. But you're doing a show that we will be going to with Sunshine Scott. East
Mhm.
Room.
Yep.
Fun stuff. We will be there. Tiny room. Have you been there?
Yeah.
You've been inside there. We've had
Fun-
some
fun place.
good, or I've had some good memories inside there.
Me too.
Yes, depression. I wish, to an extent, that I wish that I had seasonal depression. For me, it was just all the time.
Wow,
It was-
really?
I have what was called dysthymia, which is, I think, kind of an old term. It's a kind of depression where it's not like a super extreme depression, but it's just like you're at like 60% for extended periods of time.
Oh, man.
So it wasn't
Wow.
like extreme depression all the time. It was just a little bit of depression for just years and years on end,
Oh, man.
to the point where that was just my default mode. I
Sure.
didn't know what life was like being at back to like homeostasis kind of thing. I
Wow.
felt like I was always in like a emotional deficit.
Mm.
And through therapy and through getting sober, I've realized that there's a lot of factors at play. There's there's like millions of factors at play.
Sure.
And I certainly wasn't doing myself any kind of favors with like the drinking and the weed and all that stuff.
Right.
So I get on these antidepressants. My experience personally was the first one didn't work. Well, it worked, but it was giving me some pretty terrible side effects.
Right.
Second one didn't work and gave me some also bad side effects. And then finally the third one, which is what I'm on now, is doing it for me.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And along with that, I had no idea that this was a thing. It's called Naltrexone, and this was for my alcohol problem. Is you take this pill, and it's for like mild opiate addicts and alcoholics, and it basically blocks the neurotransmitter in your brain that gives you euphoria when you drink.
Wow.
So literally, it blocks. Like you can drink, but you will not get drunk. You'll die from alcohol poisoning before you feel drunk.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's weird.
That
So
is crazy.
if I had like a bunch of whiskey and started drinking it, my motor skills would slow down, but I wouldn't like be feeling drunk.
Huh.
It's very strange.
Wow. Okay.
Very strange. So that I guess it was kind of like a cheat code
Right.
in a way. So yeah, seasonal depression, is this just like so it's obviously like it comes and goes kind of thing. Does it like depend on the day, or like what kind of circumstances get you down to where is this like a self-diagnosed kind of thing, or are you in therapy?
Okay. So
That was a lot.
No.
Are you in therapy?
no.
You're not in therapy.
I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope that most people haven't taken walked away with some of my little cute videos thinking that it's like a real diagnosis. um just because it's a very serious thing, it's very real. I wouldn't say that it's like a real factor in my life. It I basically I am more sad in the wintertime,
Oh yeah.
which I think is pretty natural. My wife is extremely sad in the wintertime. I'm sad, but I'm not extremely sad. I don't even know if I would call mine full-blown depression in the wintertime. My wife perhaps could. I wrote the song about that phenomenon. Solar powered,
Yes.
which is self-explanatory, right? You're powered by the sun. And I mean, I think it was fresh in my mind because I'd been talking about it with my wife so much, right? She had a hard winter, and when it started to get warm and she started to feel better, we were like, oh my God, it's seasonal depression. And I mean, we had kind of already known that, but it really we were like, oh, this makes sense. You really need to be outside and you really need to have sunlight. And for her, it's a huge deal. It's not as big of a deal for me, but because that's what the song is about, I just talk about it before every clip because it's it helps people understand the concept of the track.
And it's encouraging to your fans that do struggle with serious depression.
Yes, I mean, I have experience with it because I'm married to someone who deals with it seriously, and so it's definitely I do really want to connect with people over that issue, but I don't want to make it out like it's something I deal with in a serious way, because it's not. But it's cool, man. The videos have all been very lighthearted and very funny, but the comments sometimes are getting deep. People are telling me about how they struggle in the winter. Some people even struggle in the summer and don't struggle in the winter, which I think is super interesting. But yeah, it's it's something that people really have strong feelings about.
Yeah. I've talked about this a few times with a few other guests, because I always ask pretty much every guest if they're in therapy. I'm a huge advocate. I love it.
Yeah.
For speaking as just from the male perspective and someone who was just very apathetic towards their feelings pretty much until the age of 22, identifying the root cause of anxiety or depression turned out to be the hardest thing, and that's something that my therapist always asked me is where is this coming from, or where do you feel this? And it's just I have no idea. It's just there. It's very, very tricky.
Wow.
But I would, but I mean, I think a lot of us have the sense that the world's on fire. I feel like that there's that, it's just nothing is working, she had, her flight to Copenhagen canceled.
Recently?
Yeah, because the airline system is just so understaffed.
Oh, man.
I mean, flights are getting canceled left and right. I'm not sure if you've heard about this or not, but it's terrible. So I just have this creeping anxiety that nothing is going
right
as planned, and the people that are running the show are incompetent and all that stuff. So that's what personally gives me anxiety, but it's more I'd say I'm definitely more on the depression side. But yeah, I mean, I guess the medication is kind of a case by case basis. I've talked to some people that are I tried one, it didn't work, so I just, I'm done with it. Instead of giving it a few chances and trying different stuff to see what works for you. I think people just kind of give up on it.
Right.
A little quickly, but okay, so solar powered. You did it in 4 months. That's insane, from the time of, writing and all that stuff to it being released. So who's Christian Rizzo, your producer and mixer? How did that relationship come about? It's a super catchy song.
Yeah. I met him at it's kind of like a networking event, actually. There's a lawyer I know who is just really great about connecting people.
Mm-hmm.
And she had just a mixer at her house. This was last October, and yeah, I went, and there were a bunch of people in kind of her little studio room, and they were just playing their demos or playing like their unreleased songs for everyone. There's a lot of songwriters there, a lot of artists, probably mostly just songwriters and artists and producers, and so you just get to meet people. But so, yeah, I met Chris. He heard me play. That was back White Skates had not been released, and that was like my upcoming thing. So I played that, and that's super disco, and he's a big Wolfpack guy, and like is into that kind of music. So we chatted a little bit and just set up a co-write, and we wrote. Was that our first? Yeah, that was our first write together, and he's mainly a producer. Was it? Yeah, that was our first write, and yeah, we sat down and wrote the first verse and chorus, and then I kind of changed a little bit from the verse, and he kind of produces as we're writing. So he comes up with like a chord progression. I played that guitar part. He put like a keys track down, found some cool drums, and then I kind of start writing the verse, and he's like continuing to flesh out the instrumental. And then yeah, once we left, I had reworked some of the melodies and lyrics and stuff, and then he just continued producing, and that was a situation where his production was just so spot on from the beginning. I didn't really have anything to say about it. I wasn't like, I kind of feel like you should go in this direction or that direction. It was just like, this is fire. Yeah. And if you just want to polish it off, we'll just put it out, because it's fire.
It's a lot of trust. It's a lot of trust to put in someone. And you also had some help from Jason Sigmund. He's talented, so he helped you out with, is this like the keys or the guitar part or the
he sings the second verse.
Oh.
He's like he's a feature.
Okay. Oh.
Our voices are kind of similar.
I was like, that's strange. Okay, I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for that. Oh my gosh, yeah, I totally thought that was you.
He is a ridiculous keys player.
Yeah.
But he did not play keys on it. Yeah, he's the featured artist.
Wow.
That's funny, man. I'll have to tell him that someone thought his voice was my voice.
So you raised $20,000 for an album.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. Now, was this on GoFundMe?
Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm. Great. What was that feeling like when you hit your goal?
That was bananas, bro.
Bananas, right?
Bananas.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that was the most stressful thing I've ever done in my life, probably. I will never do that again, ever. But yeah, it was crazy. It was, it's one of those things where nobody, like the vast majority of people don't donate until the last day, because they want to see, like, maybe he'll make it without me. I don't have to give up anything. I'll just make it without me, because they want to see.
He's got to earn it,
Right, yeah. And so if you're like 2 days away with like 7,000 to go, which is where I was at, then everyone's like, oh, shoot, he's not going to make it. I better pitch in. And so I had a crazy story. I had a fan who lives in Thailand who 3 days before the deadline, we were at like 12K, maybe 11. And we had to get to 20. 'Cause, Kickstarter works in a way where it's like, if you don't hit your goal by your deadline, you lose all the money. So we were at 11 or 12K with 3 days left. It's like, if I don't hit 20, all this money gets refunded. I don't get any of it. Anyway, so this fan from across the world, he had reached out in the past and gave me like a financial donation to like just be, I believe in your vision, I love your music, I love what you're doing, I just want to help, which is like amazing, like total miracle type of thing. And he gave an extremely generous contribution there at the very end, which like put us, I think it was something where we were like 12 or 11,000, 3 days left. I think a lot of people are like, dang, he's not going to do it. But then you got like a day and a half left, and all of a sudden you're like 17, 18,000. Like, oh, he's almost there. And now I'm going to pitch in, because it's like he has a shot. As where before, it's like there's no shot. There's no real point in me trying to, because I maybe I can only give like $150. it's not really gonna do it. It's not gonna. It's just a drop in the bucket. But if he's at 18, $150 is like that means something. So if it wasn't for our mystery donor, I don't think we would have made it.
That's awesome. So oh my gosh, so this dude in Thailand had just like a bunch of like US currency?
He's an American.
He's
He
an
just
American
lives
citizen. I was about to say
Yeah.
that would have been wild if
I know,
some
right?
kid if some kid from Thailand has been like selling counterfeit shoes on the black market and was just like, I got like $12K just chilling. That'd be awesome. That would be freaking awesome. Okay, there's a couple more topics I want to cover. First of all, Freeze Fest. I want to meet Nordista Freeze so badly. I just recently found out about him. I don't know how, but I'm like my head is spinning trying to keep up with all the artists in this city.
Yeah.
So I'll hear about them and like everybody else knows them. I'm like, where have I been?
Right.
But I have recently come across this Nordista Freeze individual.
He's the king.
And he's awesome. And I've reached out to him. He's like, yeah, I'd love to do a podcast with you.
Yeah.
He's currently on tour, so that it's gonna have to wait. And I'm moving. We'll be out of here by October.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We hate to see it go, but we got to get out of here. Freeze Fest. Yeah. Tell us for those of us who don't know, what is Freeze Fest? Who's Nordista Freeze? And how did that night go?
Well, there have been many Freeze Fests.
Yeah.
There's been like 5 or 6, maybe 7. I've only played a few of them.
Okay.
But Nordista Freeze he's one of the truest homies in all of the world. He is truly like just a great person, and has just been like a beacon of he's just fostered community so passionately and like reliably for the past 6 or 7 years in Nashville. And it's funny, my very first show in Nashville was at Radio Cafe, which doesn't exist anymore. Tiny room. That was the first time, because I had always done kind of like acoustic Americana stuff when I lived in Virginia, like after Boston and stuff. And when I came to Nashville, I was going to try and do that. I like had my acoustic guitar or whatever, and then I started to kind of discover my passion for like 50s like rock and roll, like doo-wop style stuff. And so that was like I like very heavily leaned into that when I started out, and that was my very first show with like a band and without a guitar in my hand. And I was doing like the most physical, like Little Richard, Elvis Presley style. Yes. Because that, I don't know why, that was just my vision, and I had never done it before. I had never done it. Anyway, so it was very much like an experiment for me, that show. Right. But Freeze was there, and I met him that night, and he's also a very physical performer. And so I think we had connection in that way. But he has been a dear friend ever since. And I think that same year he put on what may have been the first Freeze Fest. It was at a Chinese restaurant, a giant Chinese restaurant with a stage and a huge dance floor. I don't understand why. Forget the name of it now. But the concept that year was decades. So he had like an artist play like 40s, and then I played 50s, and then there was like 60s, 70s, whatever. And that was the biggest show I'd ever played at that point. And that really introduced me to like a lot of people and a lot of like fans, people that became fans. And and then he put on Freeze Fest. Oh, no, that was Space Prom. That was not Freeze. So he puts on a different event called Space Prom. Okay. Probably annually. So Freeze Fest is different. I've played a few Freeze Fests too. Freeze Fest is he puts together like a very large number of indie like DIY style bands from across the country, really, because he tours so much and he knows so many artists and so many bands and so many people. It's not like this every year or every Freeze Fest, but one Freeze Fest there was like over 100 bands, something crazy like that, maybe like 80 or something. That was at Fat Bites down at Donaldson. I played that too, but yes. Anyway, I'm rambling about it, but he's like a large part of like why the scene that I have existed in Nashville exists at all. Because he put together so many great events that brought so many people and artists together.
Gives a lot of like up and coming artists kind of a stage and a platform, even just for a night.
And now he's like
awesome.
He's leveling up now. He's like he's on to some big things.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, I know. That's why I gotta get him on now.
Yeah.
Before he gets too far away.
Yeah.
So you had a couple years ago, I believe I saw in 2018, you had this very vulnerable Instagram post about how you gave your life to Jesus.
Yeah.
And that's very exciting. So before this, were you an atheist before that, or like agnostic?
No. Maybe I would have called myself agnostic.
Yeah. That's the cop out, you know.
Right.
That's like people who say that they're spiritual. In my opinion, people who are like, I don't believe in like the Christian God, but I'm spiritual. Like, I totally get that. I just think that a lot of people don't want to put themselves in like a Christian box, or you know, they don't want to like confine their spirituality or whatever, and they think that it's like icky going into that area and like getting real specific, and you know, like giving your life to Jesus takes a lot. And basically, I mean, you have to give up everything, actually.
Indeed.
You have to like totally give your entire life over.
Yeah.
Which is what I struggled with. I grew up in the church.
Okay. Yeah.
Day one, Church of Christ. I mean, you want to talk about like choral stuff. We were singing like old school hymns.
Yeah, man. Wow.
From the big hymnal. Started off in the books, you know, no instruments, no nothing like that. So I grew up on like 1870s hymns.
Yeah,
you know?
wow.
A lot of them.
Cool.
So I wanted to give you a couple book recommendations.
Okay, word.
So the first one, this one's called Haley's Bible Handbook.
Okay.
And I would recommend that when you're reading, I would, well, like whenever I read the Bible, I would have this out and go along with it. So this gives you the cultural and historical context of pretty much every section in the Bible, every chapter.
There's like a map in here too.
Yeah, there's maps, there's it's juicy. It's juicy for sure.
This is amazing.
Yeah, Haley's Bible Handbook. It's well worth the, I don't know, maybe $9 or $10 it costs.
I feel like I have wanted something like this.
Yeah, like biblical encyclopedias and indexes.
Because there's so many like just random names of places and people in the Bible. You're like, I don't know where Hebron is.
Yeah.
Like, where is that?
Yeah.
But there's a map.
The Tigris and the Euphrates and whatnot.
Dude,
yeah.
Thank you for this recommendation.
Yeah. Very much worth it. I had like the spiritual mentor. I haven't been going to church in the past year for, I don't even know what reason. But so that's one if you're reading along, to the Bible. This one is a little bit more, it's a little bit, how do I put this? This guy connects, he's a dot connector is how he describes himself. He doesn't like to teach and be like, hey, like, here's how you do this, and here's how he's like super into the historical and like the linguistic aspect of it. This guy, Dr. Michael Heiser, has translated the Bible in like multiple languages, and he's worked for companies that, like, there's a there's a program. It's like the Bible basically on kind of like a super sophisticated Word document or like a Google Doc, and you can click on each word, and it'll give you like so it's basically this or that
Right.
in like a document.
That's
Anyway,
extremely dope.
So there's something that you know, you've heard like heavenly hosts, like the heavenly host. This guy, he refers to it as the divine council.
Sure.
And where it's basically it's God and a council of his like I guess you would call them like angels or other spiritual beings is how he describes it. And there's a couple in like this realm is not like explicitly stated in the Bible. So this is kind of like a spiritual theory. I'm not doing it a whole lot of justice explaining it right now, but a lot of really good Old Testament context, and this one just totally changed how I viewed the Old Testament. I thought of the Old Testament as like this arbitrary history book that no longer kind of, you know, it's like old law, doesn't really apply to us much anymore. The Unseen Realm, fantastic book.
Wow.
Completely changed my view on the Old Testament.
Dude, I'm hype.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, he's a nerd, and this guy also has some super nerdy lectures online.
Sweet.
He's got a podcast. I mean, it gets boring. I mean, like, it's just like, it's like I can only take so
into that.
Yeah, if you're into that stuff, then Michael Heiser is the guy for you. He'll help you connect a lot of dots. That's kind of his thing. So are you like a church goer now? Are you attending church regularly?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Big time.
Nice. I would ask the church that you're going to, or I can just beep it out. Where are you going to church?
I go to
okay.
when I'm in Nashville. I don't know if you guys know this. I split time between Virginia and Tennessee.
Yeah. You told me.
So when I'm here, I go to.
Mm-hmm.
I initially I was going to the Belonging Company.
Yes.
Are you familiar?
Yeah.
Which I love that church.
Yeah.
And yeah, I that's where I first, gave my life to the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And
they're very encounter based.
Okay.
Yeah, right? I mean, I haven't really I haven't been to a Belonging. I haven't been there at all, but I've heard that they're very charismatic.
Well,
very
it just depends on how you define that term.
Yeah.
I mean, they're definitely like in aesthetics.
Yeah.
They got the rock band.
Yeah.
The lights, just all that stuff. But some people can define charismatic in theology, like it within a theology, and it just depends on how you define it. I don't think like the true like dictionary definition of the term charismatic, I don't think the Belonging is that.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, they're definitely like pretty, I don't know what you would say, like not ceremonial.
Yeah.
Or like based in ritual or anything like that. They're pretty like
spirit led is what a lot of people like to say. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still like a structure.
Yeah.
You got the worship in the beginning, and then the announcements, and then the speaker comes out and gives a message, and then worship at the end, and then you leave.
Yeah. Nice.
But no, man, I truly love that church. Like I think that their teaching is solid, and they're all really, really great people. But yeah, I mean, when we first went there, I was not a Christian. I was like, this is about the cheesiest, like dumbest, like most cringiest thing I've seen in my life. Right, so that was my first impression, but I wasn't a Christian at all. Like, even just, like, if I were to scan radio stations and I heard, like, the word him too many times, or, like, he, or, like,
thou shalt.
the word grace in the, I was like, oh, change the channel.
Yeah.
So that was where I was coming from, but it's funny because that's where I started in the Belonging, and just thought it was so yucky. I would intentionally get there after worship because it was so cringy to me. And then fast forward a year, and I had so many different experiences in lots of different places, and just by places I mean like some in my bedroom and some in my car and some at church and some at a friend's house, that all kind of like culminated in me like fully embracing the faith. And then I would get there 30 minutes before worship, just to like soak in the atmosphere, and then like had so many profound like just tears flowing like just healing moments in the belonging, like just like kneeling while their band is like doing their worship stuff, and like just like really really having some powerful experiences. So it's like crazy how that changes,
Yeah, it's a powerful thing, and spiritual awakenings are no joke.
Yeah.
I had one while I was in the middle of a shift.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I was working at an alcohol company. I was distilling whiskey, and I was just having like a really really hard time, and I just broke down in tears. This is like 2017.
Whoa.
And it was like a little bit of like frustration and love. Like there was this guy that was treating me really poorly, and he was like really really toxic, really really hated me, and was just like really like intentionally putting me through it on the job, like intentionally, because he was just trying to push me out. He wanted me to quit, and so it was just really rough. And but I also had like this like outpouring of love for that person.
Really?
Yeah. And it was like in that moment where I just started like crying, where I was like, like I love this dude, even though like as terribly as he, is treating me.
Right.
And I called my mom, and this is like coworkers are like passing me, and I'm just like sobbing, distilling whiskey, sobbing, while on the phone with my mom, trying to like tell her what I'm going through tears. And she's like, maybe you're having like a spiritual awakening. I'm like, I think so.
Wow.
Yeah, it was wild. It was a wild time in my life.
God,
yeah.
Dude,
Yeah,
bananas.
like no money. I was living alone, I was just
Wow.
very lonely. Yeah, just a terrible place.
Sure.
Just wasn't getting anything done. Yeah, but that was, and I've had, you'll have many spiritual awakenings.
Sure.
I was always, because I was born into it, I had this idea in my head, like, is this real? Is this not real? Like, I've had thoughts of, like,
right.
Is church and religion just, like, this fake way to get your children to behave for the first 18 years of their life? Or is that, like, are they putting coffee out in the lobby because it's an addictive chemical and they want to keep you coming back? I was thinking of like, what's the angle here? Like, so like this paranoid aspect of me thought that it was like all fake, but I came to the conclusion that I'm like, oh, like I believe that these people believe. It came to the point where like, like my preacher and like, the families that I went to church with, it's like, no, these are authentically people who gave their life for this. And so that's kind of what it's like, oh, like, wow, this is like a thing that you actually like carry into adulthood. And just a lot of stuff, like a lot of was like naive stuff that you just go through as a child being raised in in that kind of like Sunday school environment. But it did add, a lot of friends, a lot of structure, but it can also backfire depending on the situation. Some people go a little bit too extreme.
Right.
They go a little bit hard in the paint in that regard. But that's super, like, that's so awesome that you like made a post about it and you just like are openly letting people know. Again, just like very counterintuitive to what the majority of people in the music industry are doing. And that's super special, man. That's awesome.
Thank you, dude. That's great to hear, It's like when all those things are very true, It's very uncommon to be married with children at 25, pursuing a career as an independent artist, and being in a community of people that are very much not in that phase of life. And like a lot of them actually are Christian people. It's shocking how many people that aren't necessarily open about it actually do have like a real and authentic faith. It's been cool to see that. But yeah, being open about it and stuff, sometimes it can be like super scary and super like I think I'm doing everything wrong.
Yeah,
I
right?
think everything I'm doing is wrong because no one else is doing it.
Yeah.
But I do feel I do feel like I'm in the right place. And so there's like a lot of comfort and confidence in that. And I I'm passionate about family, and I'm passionate about, that's why I made that post about commitment. It's like, I'm passionate about like changing the narrative behind children, and like changing the narrative that children are like something that takes away from your ability to enjoy life, and like restricts your freedoms and your desires and your dreams, right? Your aspirations. Like, not that having children is like a light matter at all, but it's they're they're enhancements to life, flat out. And I think that is not, that's a message that's not said hardly ever anymore. At least it seems. Even when we were pregnant, it's like we would tell just strangers, like, oh yeah, we're expecting in July, and they'll be like, oh wow, say goodbye to your sleep. It's like immediately just negative.
Yeah, and your social life and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so it's like, it's not like it doesn't come with its sacrifices, of course, but the benefits are so much greater. And it just doesn't have to be you turn in the ticket on your dreams and you clock into that 9 to 5 once your child gets here, because that's what you do. It just doesn't have to be that way. And sometimes it can be if that's what you want, or that's what you feel like you need to do. And of course, for us, like, faith is such a massive part of it. If it wasn't for our faith, I have no idea how we would see the whole situation. But I am passionate about, kind of at least just introducing an alternate narrative to what's already, what the current narrative is.
Yeah.
So
That is so cool. That is so cool. We're at an hour. I wish I could sit here and talk to you
I know, man.
all day,
Great.
but yeah, man. Anything in the works? I'm assuming that you're always working on something. Is your studio in your house, or do you have like a little?
Yeah, I got a studio.
Okay.
Setup.
I'm assuming that you're always working on stuff. Can we see some, or can we expect some new music in the? Well, I guess we still got some time left in the year. Anything dropping this year?
Oh,
do you
yeah,
think?
dude. Well, so
Nice.
I'm rolling out an album right now.
Okay.
Which means I'm doing a song a month for 12 months.
Okay.
Ending in like April.
Okay.
So yeah, I got a song coming out this Friday.
Nice.
And then
Nice.
another one next month, and another one next month.
Okay. And you're gonna be performing the new song at the East Room?
I'm actually not doing that one at the East Room. But dude,
Darn.
it's next level. This
Yeah.
next one, I've been telling people, it is unlike anything I have ever heard. I'm more excited about this song than I have been in a while.
Yeah.
I say that I've been pretty pumped about my last few, but
Yeah.
there's just this one's so different. It's
Yeah.
so different. It's called 9 to 5, which is ironic because
Yeah, we were just talking about that.
But yeah, man, I'll be doing a song a month till this album is out, and then after the album is out, I'm just gonna keep doing a song at least one a month, indefinitely. I really believe in that strategy.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome. Well, Fulton Lee, if you wanna hear a mix between Wolfpack and Elvis Presley, you got him right here.
Yeah.
Drop a follow. Make sure you follow me to make sure that other artists can find me. Let's see, what else? Anything else that you got to plug, or anything? That's pretty much it. Album coming out soon. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Make sure to grab an AR-15 on your way out, and we'll hope to see you soon, man.
Tight.
Thank you
for
so
having me, bro.
Thanks for coming over, brother.
Absolutely.
All right.
Enjoyed it.